The dance that halted the room. No one at the Hawthorne Foundation Gala understood why the lights suddenly trembled, why murmurs rippled through the ballroom like a rising storm, or why the CEO himself, powerful, untouchable Jonathan Hawthorne, stood frozen with a face as white as marble as he stared at the dance floor. Because there, beneath the massive crystal chandelier, a janitor in a borrowed tuxedo had just lifted his trembling hands to touch the face of Jonathan's blind daughter, and she was smiling as if she had known those hands her entire life. But that wasn't the real shock. The real shock was what Jonathan whispered, almost choked, when he recognized the man dancing with her. It can't be him, not after all these years. Before I reveal what he meant, pause a moment. And if you're already hooked, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the Kindness Chronicles for more powerful stories. Now back to the night that cracked open every secret Hawthorne had buried. Ethan Walker had never meant to be at the gala. His world rarely drifted beyond mop buckets and ammonia fumes. He was a single father trying to rebuild life brick by brick after losing his wife to an accident 3 years earlier. Working at the Hawthorne corporate headquarters as a night janitor was never part of his dreams, but it gave his 8-year-old son, Caleb, food and a roof. That was enough. The gala, however, was not for men like him. It was a place of diamond-necklaced socialites, high-ranking executives, and heirs groomed for power. Ethan was only there because the maintenance manager had begged him last minute to cover a shift, clean up spills, empty trash, and keep invisible. Just blend in, his manager said. They barely notice the waitstaff. They won't even see you. But, invisible, turned out to be impossible once he saw her. Her name was Lydia Hawthorne, 22, elegant, blind since 16. Most people saw her as a fragile ornament, someone to escort around gently, someone to protect like fine china. Ethan saw something entirely different: steadiness, strength, a quiet alertness that moved through her like music. She was standing alone, fingers lightly grazing the edge of a table as if mapping the room through the vibrations in the air. And she looked abandoned. Not in the obvious sense. There were guards nearby, assistants hovering, but abandoned emotionally, like someone trapped inside the wrong story. Ethan didn't mean to stare. But Lydia lifted her head as if she felt his gaze, turning toward him with a soft breath. "Is someone there?" she asked. Her voice was warm, but brittle, like a flame-fighting wind. Ethan froze. He had a trash bag slung over his arm, gloves in hand, and he felt like a trespasser. "Sorry," he murmured. "Didn't mean to intrude." "People don't usually apologize when they stare," she replied with a faint, wry curve to her lips. Ethan's heart lodged in his throat. "I wasn't staring," he lied. "Oh, I didn't say I minded." She tilted her head. "Just unusual to meet someone honest enough to admit they exist." Her words were simple, but they landed like stones. Most of the gala moved around her as if she were an obstacle, not a person. Then the orchestra began a slow waltz, and couples moved to the center floor, glossy and practiced. Lydia stood still. Ethan saw something flicker across her face, longing, quickly disguised. He swallowed. "Do you want to dance?" he asked before thinking. The moment the question escaped, regret flooded him. He was a janitor in a room of power brokers. He had no right to ask. But Lydia's expression blossomed in a way he didn't expect. "No one's asked me in years," she whispered. She reached out a hand. "Guide me?" His breath shuddered. He placed his hand in hers. And the gala changed. When Lydia moved, she didn't cling or falter. She followed Ethan's steps with instinct, sharp, trusting, fluid. She smiled in a way that made Ethan feel as if he had given her back a missing piece of her life. But then, the lights flickered. The music faltered. Gasps snapped across the room. Because Jonathan Hawthorne, the man whose empire shaped half the city, was staring at Ethan like he had just seen a ghost. Ethan tried to bow away, pulling back respectfully. But Lydia held his hand tighter. "Don't let go," she whispered. Jonathan's voice cut through the orchestra like a blade. "Lydia. Step away from him." Lydia stiffened, but she didn't release Ethan. "He's a guest," she said calmly. Jonathan's eyes narrowed. "No. He's not." Ethan felt the heat of 100 stares. He was suddenly aware of every stain on his shoes, every scratch on his hands, every dollar he didn't have. "Sir," Ethan said quietly, "I didn't mean." Jonathan wasn't listening. He was staring at Ethan's face, really staring, as if excavating old memories. And then he said the words that shattered the room. "You look exactly like the man I paid to disappear." The gala erupted. Lydia gasped. Ethan paled. Security rushed forward. But Jonathan wasn't finished. "And if you're truly his son," he said, voice trembling with rage and something more complex, fear, regret, dread, "then I know exactly what you want." Ethan didn't understand any of it. But he was about to. Because this story didn't begin tonight. It began 28 years earlier. The truth buried under money. Ethan didn't resist when security dragged him into a private backroom. Lydia, furious, demanded to come with him, and Jonathan reluctantly agreed, if only to keep the press from catching wind of the scandal brewing. When the door slammed shut behind them, Jonathan paced like a man unraveling. "You," he said to Ethan, pointing as if at a specter, "are Benjamin Walker's boy." Ethan flinched. "I was. He died when I was 2. Jonathan exhaled sharply, like a blow had landed. Lydia's voice trembled. "Dad, what does his father have to do with anything? Why did you say you paid him to disappear?" Jonathan's throat bobbed. He sat, shoulders caving inward. "Because I did," he admitted. Silence snapped tight. Lydia's breath hitched. Ethan felt the floor tilt. Jonathan pressed a hand over his eyes. "You deserve the truth. Both of you." He began slowly, as if reopening a wound. 28 years ago, Benjamin Walker was my best friend. We founded Hawthorne Industries together from nothing, 2 young idiots who thought loyalty was unbreakable. Lydia whispered, "Dad. I didn't know you ever had a partner." "You didn't," he muttered, "because I erased him." Jonathan's voice cracked. "Benjamin fell in love with your mother, Lydia." The words detonated in the small room. Lydia gasped. Ethan's jaw slackened. Jonathan flinched as if expecting physical blows from memory alone. "Your mother never told me she was seeing him," Jonathan continued. "The tabloids used to call us the Golden Trio, me, your mother, and Benjamin. I thought she chose me because I was the more successful, the more stable. I didn't know she loved him first." Jonathan's voice dropped to a whisper. "When she became pregnant, she didn't know which of us was the father." Lydia staggered back. "Me? You mean I might not be your daughter?" Jonathan nodded slowly. "She was terrified the media would destroy us, destroy the company, destroy everything. She begged me to let Benjamin stay in the company and accept that none of us knew the truth yet. I couldn't." He swallowed, eyes glassy. "I paid him to leave. Gave him $50,000, begged him to vanish quietly, for the company's sake, for my sake, for hers. I told him once we had clarity, once the baby came, we could solve things." Lydia covered her mouth. "But Mom died giving birth," she whispered. Jonathan nodded, face crumpling. "And Benjamin disappeared entirely. The money was never touched. He never contacted me again. I spent years trying to find him. I didn't know he'd had a child. I didn't know he died. I didn't know any of it." Ethan tried to speak, but emotions clogged his throat. "My father never talked about his past," he whispered. "We were always moving. He worked construction.